What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Pursuing Purpose. I think this is like episode 7, or we're a lot in, and today I have 2 special guests. My first time having 2 guests, and I am so excited. Most of you already know them, but to introduce to you, Nick and Brittany Spicer. Let's go!
Hey Danielle,
Yay.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for taking the time to be on this podcast. I mean, if you have had the honor of knowing Nick and Brittany, then your life is blessed for forever. So thank you guys for being on with me today. So go on ahead, maybe just like introduce yourselves, tell like a little bit of like your story, just kind of a background of who you guys are.
First, you need to explain like we're in a different spot. Like
that's true.
This is a change up for the
Yes,
podcast.
very different from like my normal setup. Because I have 3 people, I needed like a bigger space. So we're in like the mother's infants room of our church, which Brittany actually Brittany and
Shout
Nick.
it out.
Yeah, Brittany and Nick like actually like helped
And Sarah.
basically, and Sarah
Harper,
Bubba.
yes,
one of
Sarah
our
Harper.
pastors.
Lots of people were involved, but
A labor of love.
yes, absolutely. So this room looks amazing. So also to spotlight the room, yes, thank you for reminding me about that. So yeah, different room, but I love the vibe. It's got the couch because you're a couple, so it's perfect.
A little love seat.
Yes, exactly.
Whoa.
So it's perfect. But yeah, introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about you guys.
You can go first.
Well, I'm Nick Spicer. This is my wife, Brittany. We're married.
Yeah.
We'll actually celebrate our 10-year anniversary next August. So 9 years this August. So I kind of jumping the gun there. But so yeah, we've been coming to the church for
10 years, I think.
about that same amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got 2 children. Levi, our firstborn, he's 2.5 years old, and Evangeline was born last December.
Yep.
So she's about
5
5 and a
months.
half,
Yep.
going on 6 months.
Yep. So we're not busy at all.
No, yeah.
No.
Life's great. Super easy, chill, laid back.
We get a lot of sleep.
Yeah. We just rehomed our dog. So that was sad.
That one was sad.
I'm not even gonna lie. Whenever I saw your story that one morning, I was driving to the church. I literally started tearing up.
Yeah. Well, I probably
It was
did too.
so sad because I know what it's like to like because my dog that I grew up with, he passed away, and I feel, and even though your dog didn't like pass away, you're still like rehoming it. It's not
you're
there
still
every day.
grieving.
Grieving it exactly. So and it literally made me cry because I'm like, oh my gosh.
I cried many times because of Nick being sad, because Nick is like the most even keel person ever.
Right.
So for him to be sad, I was like, wow, this is heavy.
Like Nick has emotions. Like what?
Just a couple.
Just a few emotions. No big deal.
I gotta manage it, but yeah. I mean, I work here at the church, full time, worship coordinator, assistant to Pastor Sam, the youth group. What do you do, Brittany?
I'm
Yeah,
in
Brittany.
the corporate world, real estate acquisitions and finance, in senior housing specifically.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Making the big bucks.
She's very smart. Very big deal.
Let's go. They're just hyping you up.
No,
Brittany.
you guys are the big deal here.
Whatever.
Yeah, we work in ministry, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, my job earlier today was like finding out how to fix that tripod onto the camera. And stuff, so
Yeah. Y'all,
very big
like,
things happening here.
Yeah,
like,
I would
say
not know
so.
how to do my job without Nick. Like, you think I'm good at what I do is because Nick knows more than I do. So,
No.
anyways, but yeah, so I want to start off with like some icebreaker things. That's what I try to do at the beginning to kind of like get the nerves out. It's also just something fun, gets to know you guys a little bit better. So I have a couple would you rather questions
I like it.
for this one. So there's like 10 of them, I think. So to start off, would you rather have the ability to move things with your mind or read minds?
Move things with my mind.
I'm thinking that too.
I don't want access to.
I know.
I don't want all that.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's dangerous.
Sometimes it could be nice, but
Well,
like,
can you turn it off?
I mean, I
Or
guess
just
because
constantly
it's like a
streaming
power,
what people-
superpower.
Yeah.
Because like
Just
when you
tap
move
into
things, you would be able to like not, you know. So
yeah,
I
control
guess
it.
you could control it.
So it's
So
not
it would
just, like,
come in
bombarding
handy
you.
sometimes. I'm really nosy, so honestly, I'd probably just want to be able to read people's minds.
Yeah, I
What's
think that'd
Nick
make me
really
extra
thinking?
stressed.
I'm not gonna tell you. But yeah, I'd
Also-
definitely rather move stuff.
Yeah, if you could move stuff, maybe I could move my own body to like travel other
Yeah, like
places.
you just move yourself.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's
Like-
smart.
You can already do that. You just walk.
Like,
Just walk.
I
You
would
just go
like
there.
some real Italian pizza
You already
for
have
dinner.
that power.
Well, I'd have to get on a
Us as
plane. I can't
humans.
just like be there.
Well,
That's
I don't
true.
think that's the idea, right? Because that's a no, what's that one? Teleportation.
Teleportation, yeah.
What you're saying
Or
is
you
more
can,
like
teleport.
telekinesis, where you can like
Where you
move
can
other
like I could
objects,
move like
the Force.
yeah, like I could
Well,
move
yeah.
that picture frame.
But like I
move.
could move the mirror. Maybe I could just move my body and fly.
Maybe I could just walk.
Well, I didn't know
I can
flight was.
fly.
I mean, I'd still pick this one, whatever it entails. If there's a part of it, I'll take it. I don't want to read people's minds.
Okay, so we're going with moving things with minds.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. Would you rather give up air conditioning and heating for the rest of your life or the internet?
Oh, give up
The rest
the
of my
internet.
life.
So like never have air conditioning and heating or like never have internet?
Ooh.
It's tough because most of
It's
human
such a-
history, there's not been air conditioning. That's a pretty
Yeah.
recent phenomenon.
Or internet.
Right, they're both
Feel
kind
like
of recent.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like you could adjust to like just being hot or cold.
Mhm.
Depends on where you live too. I mean, I could always relocate somewhere where I have
Right.
internet and like a temperate climate that's not too hot or cold.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The internet thing's tough.
Solid. I mean, you literally couldn't even have a job these days without internet.
No, right. I'm like, I don't
So-
know. Like, my
Yeah,
job is
this
literally
podcast-
just
The internet.
It's so, like, this podcast would not
Just
exist
be
without
doing
internet.
sweaty hot.
It's like, even like the
podcasts.
question, that question last night in Reach where he was like,
Oh,
would
you'd
you rather
rather not take a-
not be able to take a shower for a month or not have internet for a month?
Yeah, and there's like
I
5
picked the-
disgusting
I picked
people
the-
that went over there.
It was like me, Jaden, and like JT. And Jaden was like, I have a YouTube channel. I have to. I was like,
I love
yes, yes. I have the podcast, so I have to have internet.
Y'all
they
are
can't. They
committed.
can't smell me. You know, I can just stay in my room for a month.
I respect the commitment.
Right. We were hardcore getting judged though, which I understand. I'll take the heat though. Okay, would you rather swim in a pool full of Nutella or maple syrup?
Oh, Nutella for sure. Syrup is sticky.
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
not trying
true.
to get that out everywhere.
I feel like Nutella's more thick though, so it'd be like harder to swim, right? Because it's
That's
kind of like
true.
peanut butter.
That's what I was thinking. I'd probably pick.
It'd probably be easier to swim in syrup, but
Yeah.
then also like after you'd be like literally sticking to everything.
But you don't necessarily have to like make it to the other side, right?
That's true.
Just like be in there and be like, cool, now I have a lot of
Now-
Nutella. This
Now I'm
isn't
Yeah,
a
yeah.
problem.
Nutella.
If you're playing like water polo, it'd probably be.
Yeah, I mean, that might be
Challenge.
harder.
If you're just kind of, hanging out there soaking, talking to friends.
I mean, it'd
Either
be
one's
like
probably fine for that.
it'd be like a mud bath. It's probably therapeutic. Maybe
Yeah, I
people
wonder
would
if-
pay a
'cause
lot
it's
for that.
hazel- It's hazelnut,
Yeah.
right? It's Nutella
Yeah.
hazelnut, so there's probably good like properties for your skin.
Yeah.
Whereas syrup's just straight up. Well, is it pure maple syrup or like the fake? Are we allowed to talk
We'll
about
go-
Aunt Jemima's? Are we gonna get canceled? The fake stuff.
Nick, don't get me canceled, okay?
You can edit that out.
I'll edit that part out. Okay, would you rather have a personal maid or a personal chef?
Oh, what does a maid do? Like everything?
Like clean.
Clean all the
Laundry.
time.
Yeah,
Dishes.
like
Yeah, that.
like everything. Like
Yeah.
everything would just always stay clean.
Because then I'd have more time to like enjoy cooking my own food.
Yes,
Mhm.
I agree.
And then
That's
she
what
can
I
just
would go
clean
with.
up after me.
Yeah.
Mainly
He-
because
he
my
or she.
room's a disaster right now because I've been redoing it for a month. And so I'm like, if I had a maid, like, all this would be taken care of. And I wouldn't have to do any of it.
Yeah, you could just do the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And they clean up your messes.
Exactly.
be
They could
great.
just clean it up. So yeah,
I
I would
think-
definitely pick the maid.
In another life, I could have been a maid.
You like cleaning though, right?
Nick is
Like-
kind of our maid at home, honestly. He's the one that, like, he loves cleaning and
Uh-huh.
it needs to be clean. So he does the most of it.
Yeah.
I do a really good job too.
Yeah.
I remember
it's
because I came over to y'all house the other night and like literally Nick was like cleaning he was just cleaning while we were there. Cleaning
Yes.
as
Yeah,
Like, if we
I
were done
realize
with it,
that
he was just
when I
cleaning
go
it.
over to people's houses, no one else does that, but it feels normal for me.
yeah. Well, it's productive because like then you do it and then you don't have to worry about it. You just do
Listen,
it right
I think
after.
that's
it's
part
done.
of it. It just gives me like clarity to like be able to like be in the moment later. Because otherwise, when
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
there,
true.
I'm just like looking at like,
Staring at the
that's
dirty
gotta
dishes.
get cleaned later.
Everyone's trying to play a game and he's like, ugh, the pots and pans. He's stressed. Don't even ask him how many vacuums he has, though. That's a whole nother topic.
Oh my goodness.
That
Talk
is a
about that?
problem.
Can we talk about that? Can that be this
Go.
episode's
the debate.
topic?
The debate of today.
I'll bring
I
you
don't
guys
know.
on another day. We'll talk about vacuuming.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
couples counseling.
Yes. No, we need like Pastor Mike in here for that.
Yeah.
listen,
Mike and Doris. It can be you guys and Mike and Doris.
there are worse addictions, so
There are.
Absolutely.
We'll take it.
Okay. Would you rather have a pause or a rewind button in your life? So like would you rather be able to like pause a moment or be able to like rewind to a moment?
Pause.
Yeah, I would say pause. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also thinking, especially now with like little kids,
Absolutely, yeah.
to be able to just soak it in. But it would be fun to be able to go back and experience something, but only just for like a minute and not worry about everything else that came with it. Be like, let's see what Levi was like for a baby for a minute, but not deal with all the diapers from that time or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think fondly of the past and have like feelings of nostalgia, but it never gets to the point where like, man, like I just really want to go back to that time. Like for me, it's enough to just like remember them and just like, that was a good time. But like, I still, there's still a lot of good times that I'm having currently, and so
Exactly.
that's kind of where my mind ends up coming back to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if you could pause, then like your vacations could be really long, which would be cool.
Right.
Or the house, the house could stay clean longer.
They're gonna think with the cleaning again. Okay, no, that's good. I would pick the same thing. Okay, would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or play every instrument?
Language.
Yeah, that would be real. I don't know. That's such a hard one. I think for me, instruments would come in more handy. Mm-hmm. I think just because like
you
worship,
could like record,
doing those kind of things. But I think like as far as traveling goes, obviously languages.
Yes. I could see for both of y'all being like worship leaders and scheduling people for your teams. If you could play every instrument, then you could fill in at any time.
Yeah,
which would be really nice.
Does that? Like he plays. Well, he's been doing a lot more like bass and like keys and stuff.
Yeah, and well, basically you do too. You played drums last night.
I did,
which was amazing.
Y'all, I begged Nick for at least a year to let me play drums somewhere, and it finally happened.
It happened.
He finally caved.
I couldn't take it anymore.
Like,
just take the sticks and go.
Do it. Stop asking me questions.
No, you did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Solid.
Yeah. I do not consider myself a pro, but it was pretty good for like not drumming in a long time.
20 minutes of rehearsal, and then we just did it.
Yeah. So. It was fun though. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy playing drums. So thank you
Randy,
for letting me do that.
you lost your job. I don't know. Does Randy watch? Yeah, because he comments a lot. So.
Yeah.
Hi, Randy.
Randy, I played drums and reeks last night. I might be taking.
You got some competition.
Yeah, you got some competition, man.
You better step up. I don't know why I'm looking over there. The camera's right there.
Okay, next one. There's only a few more. Okay, would you rather always have a full phone battery or a full tank of gas?
I kind of feel like, well, the gas would save you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I would probably go with that, but I feel like my phone is constantly dying, which is annoying. Yeah. So.
No, mine is too. Like, literally, I'll use it for like 20 minutes. It's on like 50%. I'm like, what's going on here?
What happened?
Like, I have to plug it 24/7.
Yes.
And I have like 13 Pro, so it's not that old. I don't know, and I don't use it that often. Mm-hmm. I don't think, because whenever I'm here, I'm like doing stuff.
Yeah. I guess I'd pick the gas. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I got this phone like fall of last year, so so currently, like I don't have any issues with battery life. Like I pretty much can go all day.
Yeah.
And just plug it in at night.
You're living in the good days.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, the gas would save a lot of money, and you don't have to like go get gas anywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's probably a first world problem, but like that's always annoying when you're like out of gas. Like even though it's like on my way home,
I don't want to stop.
I'm like, it's such an inconvenience. It literally takes 5 minutes. But.
Yeah. But when we travel, like Nick's family lives in Pennsylvania, so when we go visit them, it's 12 hours, and so that would save some cash real fast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And y'all travel. I mean, not a lot, but like when you go, I always love like seeing y'all's travels and stuff.
Yeah, we enjoy it. It's fun. We could do some like cross country adventures on the cheap.
Absolutely. Okay, one more, and I think I already know y'all's answered this, but would you rather live on the beach or a cabin in the woods?
For living, cabin on the wood.
Yeah, that's what I thought y'all would say. Yeah. A beach vacation's pretty cool though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, unless the woods are like Missouri.
We'll say like mountains.
Or like Mississippi woods or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a nice mountainous wooded area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as far as living goes, I don't know. I think of like Outer Banks. I would love to live on the beach if I was like Outer Banks, the show. I think that would be so cool to like live, or I don't know if they live on the beach, but it is an ocean, right?
Yeah.
In Outer Banks?
Yeah, the Outer Banks.
The Outer Banks.
It's like a beach.
Yeah, I just think of that, and I think like as a teenager, I think that'd be so cool. And my mom grew up like in Panama City. She like lived out there, and so like every weekend they go like on the boat and stuff. So that would be cool. But like I think it would also be cool to just like live in a cabin like in the woods.
Yeah.
And like hike every day, and I think that would be really fun.
The birds.
Yeah, just
Hit the
nice and
boats,
peaceful.
shipping. Exactly.
Get some good views.
Yes, lots of content would be happening for sure.
Okay. There's the
There's
addiction coming out. I could post
I just
about
exposed myself. I can post. I can take my camera. I can
so
take
many
pictures.
good stories.
No, right. Okay, so today's topic, I wanted to talk about, and actually Jordan gave me this idea, talking about questioning God. And I think it's just, I feel like human nature to always be hesitant or like question God, like in your relationship when he asks you to do something, when you hear from him, just like being hesitant of like saying yes. And I think that's definitely something I struggle with sometimes. It's just like, even like when you're going through something, you're like, where is God in this? You know, that kind of thing. And so questioning if he's even there. And so I think you guys would obviously, any topic I could have picked, you guys would be great at. But I think this is something that is kind of deep. Like it can be like a deep topic. And so I just think y'all would be really good just like breaking this stuff down. So my first kind of opening thing is like, is it okay to question God? And should we feel like any shame or like feel guilt about questioning God?
Go ahead.
No.
No.
Well, I guess you asked two questions. So to the first question of is it okay to question God? Yes, to that one. Although there's probably some like ways I'd like to qualify that and just kind of explain that a little bit more.
Yes.
So yeah, yes, it's okay, and no, you shouldn't necessarily feel ashamed for kind of having those moments of questioning or tension or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think the tension is so natural and human, like, because in a lot of cases we're not seeing or hearing tangibly what God says, so it's only natural to kind of be trying to sort that out and figure out what really he's leading us to do.
Yep.
But I think also, you know, if you're questioning God, then you're in really good company. Eve was tempted by Satan to question God. Jesus was tempted by Satan to question God. So, you know, I think it's just in that way part of the human existence and really one of the like oldest tricks in the book that he has against us too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of what you do with those moments of, you know, you called it like just a temptation and just like a suggestion of thoughts or uncertainty about something. But then it's kind of the pivotal point for those characters is what did they do with that? Like what actions did they take?
Yeah, because in those two examples, drastically different
Eve,
results.
Eve went a certain direction and Jesus went another direction.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of therein that lies kind of the thing that we should kind of more so focus on rather than just the immediate like, oh, I'm having these feelings or these questions arising. Yeah, I mean, just the two things that I wanted to kind of like say to clarify that is that it kind of, the questioning can kind of take different, have different like tone depending on your spiritual growth or kind of where you're at. And so I just think of like, you know, somebody that's new to faith or even just like exploring and open to like God and trying to just seek truth and seek him. Like they're going to have some more questions that kind of are a little bit more of like, I need this to be answered. And they're kind of like asking God, like, you need to come through and like figure this out for me, you know, or else I'm not going to believe in you kind of thing. Like, you know, you'll hear people like say like, I need it to be written in the sky that like Jesus is Lord. And some of that can be just like cop outs of like people like, they don't want to, but they just say that because you know, that's what it's going to take. But some people are genuinely like, they need that kind of a sign. And so I think that kind of questioning is like good for like somebody that's just younger spiritually and like still in those beginning phases. But I think that there's like a progression that you have to kind of get out of that mode of like questioning God, of like always demanding. It's like this entitled kind of immature thing where like you're just like demanding answers from God. Like
you
he
need to
owes
tell
you
me
something.
exactly how this works.
Yeah, like I don't like this thing that I'm going through. I don't like how this problem's arisen. Like you need to figure that out for me, God. Like, or else I'm not gonna like follow you. So I think there needs to be that growth there where you're just kind of like settling into just this kind of restful place of trust, even in the midst of like kind of having, you know, these things in you that are just like kind of unsettled about this, but I've learned how to just leave it at God's feet and just like trust him. So yeah, I don't know if you had any other thoughts about that. There's like a verse that I was going to just say. It's a Psalm 131. It's the whole psalm, but it's a short psalm. But it's one that I kind of come back to a lot just when I'm dealing with some of these questions. It says, Lord, my heart is not proud. My eyes are not haughty. I don't concern myself with matters too great or too awesome for me to grasp. Instead, I have calmed and quieted myself Like a weaned child who no longer cries for its mother's milk. Yes, like a weaned child is my soul within me. O Israel, put your hope in the Lord now and always. So yeah, it's just kind of that posture of like calming and quieting my soul, and like kind of rehearsing that to myself. Like I've got these things kind of coming up in me, but I'm not gonna like, God, figure it out. Like make the stop. But it's just like, it's okay that I don't know. You know? I'm just a man.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think of like questioning God, I think trust has a lot to do with that. So how does trust come into play with like questioning God, with having those hesitancies and just trusting him, basically?
Yeah, we always like look at each other.
I know, like who wants to answer first?
Who went first last time?
Well,
Me.
Oh.
Listen, you're the theological one,
No,
so you can go first again.
So yeah, I mean, trust. I think trust is the main indicator of whether you're questioning in a healthy way or not. And I think that the way that trust is like visibly seen and like you can like identify as like, okay, I'm being trusting in this, is basically just comes down to obedience, and like, are you kind of humbling yourself, and like even if it doesn't feel like some of the right things that I think I should be doing, like whether they're worth it or not, or whether they're actually doing anything beneficial to me or honoring to God, like do I still commit myself to acting in a certain way or to being in a certain way? And I think that if you can kind of like rest in that of like, okay, like I've given up doing this or thinking this or acting this way because I believe, you know, I have this conviction that it's good, it's God's commands and it's obedience to him, then whatever kind of emotional mental states or questioning that I might have, I can at least rest on that, knowing that I'm acting in a trusting way because I've kind of given up something through it all.
Yeah. I read a book kind of early in the year, or maybe end of last year, but it was by Jackie Hill Paris. She's a Bible teacher, really fantastic stuff. But she talks about how, you know, if the character of God that is described in the Bible is real, and if God cannot sin, then he's literally the most trustworthy being that's ever existed.
Is and so holier than thou?
Yeah, holier than thou.
I'm reading that book right now. It's
it's so good.
Yes,
holier than thou. Dive in if you have any doubts about like who God is, like is he good to me? Will he come through? Like read that book.
Right.
So foundational. But I thought that was kind of a life-changing way to think about it, just in terms of like, if God can't sin, he can't sin against me. Yeah. Like he can't fail me. He can't leave me needing something.
Yep.
And so if I believe that, even if sometimes you have these like, you know, doubts or worries that are kind of firing in your brain, kind of like Nick said, am I like moving forward and knowing that at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've started reading that book?
I have. I'm not like too far into it, but yeah, I've gotten to that part at least. So yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good to kind of like think of the holiness of God in that way as like a good thing for us.
Yeah.
Because we can kind of think of like God's holy, or like just anyone's holiness as just like, they're just like this they think they're this perfect person, or like that holier. I mean, that whole phrase that she uses, like holier than thou. It's kind of it's like a negative thing. We're like, oh, holier than thou. It's kind of this like person that conveys this like arrogance or condescension. But
judges everybody else.
Yeah, but she like flips it to say like, no, God is holier than thou, and that's good for you, and that makes him trustworthy.
Yeah, because he knows everything that you don't know, and he can control everything that you could never control.
No, exactly. And one of my favorite parts in that book, it's like at the beginning, when she's talking about like, you may not be able to like see him physically, but you know who he is when you remember his ways, and when you like remember who, like, what he's done and how you've experienced him. Like, you can't see him physically, but when you have that faith and you know that he's there and you remember what he's done for you, then, like, you'll know who he is, kind of thing. So, I don't remember exactly how it went, but I love the way she put that.
Yes, because he's never changing. So, who he's been in the past, like, he's gonna
can't
be different than that.
Absolutely.
What's the word that you learned for that?
I don't remember. What is it?
Impassable.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
when she described that, I was like, I don't know what that means. And Nick had to define it.
No, I've definitely had to look up a few words in that book.
Yes.
I literally write it beside. I'm like, this is what this word means because I have no idea.
Yep.
But yeah, it teaches you new words though.
That's good, yeah.
So it's really cool.
Reading's great.
Right. Reading is so, and I've been getting, because look, I hated reading in school because I had to read, and I feel like we've talked about this, because I had to read to like write essays and stuff, so I always despised it. But now I've loved reading even more now, just because I'm doing it for fun and like more educational things like that, like Christian books and stuff that help my faith, and so I've really been enjoying it a lot more now than I ever have. So that's also been really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So in what ways have you guys like questioned God in your life, and how have you worked through that?
I can go first this time if you want.
I didn't even look at you that time. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, I think there have been definitely times in my life that I have questioned God poorly, and times that I have done better. And, you know, kind of so in college was like first time I was out on my own, making my own decisions, trying to discern how the world worked and all this kind of stuff. And I did kind of veer down a path of like some choices that weren't all the best choices, weren't the best for me. And it was a lot of me trying to like take the reins, figure things out, not be patient, not wait, do things on my own, justify a lot of that. And I think the Lord revealed to me later that a lot of it was that like the root of a lot of that was because I believed in God, and I believed, I guess, that he would provide, but I didn't really actually believe in my heart that he would be good to me, you know?
Yeah.
And like that his will would be the best thing for me and the most enjoyable place for me to be. And so it's like, you know, sometimes it's easy to, like, we want these certain things, but I don't know, it's almost like I pictured that the Lord would give me a man who was a good husband, but, like, would he be cute? Would he make me laugh? Would he, like, I didn't totally trust who he would bring me, and just, like, that across the board. And so once I learned that and made a bunch of mistakes and realized, like, I'm doing a really horrible job of this and I don't want anything to do with it. Like, you have to figure this out. You have to come through. I even, like, just with the dating example in particular, just stopped dating for a long time, until I met Nick, and then slowly, kind of, you know, we eased into that, like getting to know each other. But yeah, it's like the Lord does want to put things together for you that are so good, and the timing is perfect, and it's really hard to like wait through that sometimes. But that's where the trusting deep down has to come in.
Absolutely. I mean,
So-
I'm like literally like where you were. That's kind of like literally that's where I am right now, as far as just like future and just literally, and I kind of jumping ahead to another question, but that's totally fine. But yeah, just like literally just like trust. And I kind of talked about that last night, like in this season, I literally just have to let go of control, because I'm a controlling person as far as like I need to know every detail. And so just not knowing what my future holds, not knowing who I'm going to marry, not knowing when, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But literally just trusting and knowing that like God's got it, like, you know, and whenever I think whenever I fully like step back and let go, like it's going to happen, and when it needs to happen, you know, like when I'm ready. Yeah. And so I love how you said about timing too. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's like during that season of waiting, he's building in you the trust in him, the relationship, and also the character, so that you can like survive the blessings that he has for you.
'Cause like you said, waiting's hard, and that's like, and waiting's been like a big word for me this year. Even like talking with Macy at like the beginning of the year, her word for this year was like wait. And that was before I even had anything about waiting. Yeah. And so now that's just been a big thing, like waiting, but also waiting in community too, like waiting, you know, not going through any of this alone too, like having a community around you.
Yeah, like you can be vulnerable, you can tell people that it's hard, and like share the struggle of that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's really good.
So has God been trustworthy? Am I cute?
I would say you're pretty cute.
God is good. But yeah, I mean, the waiting thing, just to kind of talk about that for a little bit. It's like sometimes we think of like waiting as the same thing as like patience, insofar as like there's there's this thing that I want, and I just need to, some more time needs to pass before I can get to it. But I think in those seasons of waiting, the lesson to be learned is kind of that, like, maybe I actually didn't need that thing as much as I wanted or thought I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of learn in those seasons of waiting that, like, actually, like, I have everything I need in him.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you just need those periods of, like, a pause
Right.
to stop pursuing those things that you think you want.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's
Yep.
just, like, that's going to be an endless thing that you just do the rest of your life if you keep getting access to those things.
Mm-hmm.
So for God to just, like, put a pause on that, it's kind of to teach you that he's your sufficiency.
Yeah.
And he's enough, and that
Mm-hmm.
thing could come or go, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the point where, like, yeah, God could bring it into your life and bless you with
Mhm.
it, or he could not, and you wouldn't be bitter about that. You
Mhm.
wouldn't be upset about that in the long
Mm-hmm.
run, because that's, you know, that's not what I was pursuing.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, that is really good because sometimes it's so easy to like really focus on the thing that you want. Like, I want a certain job. I want to get into this school. I want to get married. I want to have the baby.
Mhm.
But how many of us know people who have any of those things and still feel such lack?
Yeah.
You know? And so
absolutely.
it's like the thing isn't going to give you that fulfillment.
Yep. Like, literally, we can only find our fulfillment in him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I read in, like, a leadership book or something, like, a couple months ago. So many people find fulfillment in, like, their job or, like, the work that they do instead of, like, finding it in Jesus and, you know, in Christ, who he says we are. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, just like you said, like, we don't find our fulfillment in those things. We find our fulfillment in him.
Yep.
And, you know, so just being okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, and then to answer the question more directly, probably similar to your story of just the ways that I've questioned God have been kind of back to that idea of trust and just how I wasn't trusting him by obeying him. And so, like, my disobedience toward things that I knew I should be doing or things that I was doing that I knew I shouldn't be doing, I think those are manifestations of me, like, not trusting God, therefore, like, questioning him of, like, you know, these are his ways, and, like, I'm convinced of that, like, I understand that, I get that, but I'm not going to do it because I don't trust that they're best for me. So it's just kind of like this subtle, like, questioning of God and, like, you know, is this really going to work for my good, or is this going to benefit me at all? That kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's a subtle thing. It's not like that, like, obvious, like, shaking your fist at the sky, like, God, why is this happening? Or
Right.
whatever. But I think I think those subtle ways are more common for people. It's
Yeah.
like those little ways that we just question him.
Yeah. And in trust and relationship, I don't think it's bad at all to question God, you know?
Yeah.
Levi, our 2.5-year-old, like, asked me not all that long ago his first why question.
Oh.
But he got in trouble for, like, jumping on the couch, and so we had to turn the TV off. And then he was like, Mama, why you do that? Why you turn the TV off, Mama? And I was like, well, come here and let's talk about it, you know? And so it was like an invitation to
Absolutely.
better teaching and better correction. And, you know, if he's listening and obeying, then he can, like, have the fun things, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think in a lot of ways, like, God is the same way. It's like, I'm not trying to withhold stuff from you. Like, we can talk about it, and maybe you'll get the full, you know, answer that you want, or sometimes you don't. But I don't think, like, he's big enough to handle our questions.
Yes, absolutely. Like, nothing we say is too big for him. Like,
Yeah, he's like, oh,
he's like,
I'm shocked.
you know, our biggest struggles are like, oh, that's light work. Like,
Yeah.
I got that. Like, don't worry about it. You know?
Yeah, like, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so good. So when thinking of the future, how do you guys maintain confidence in what lies ahead rather than, like, fear or hesitancy of the future and the unknown? How do you guys stay confident in that and not have fear? I also still, Nick technically came up with this question. I have to give him credit for that.
Oh, no, I wasn't doing that. I was just.
I do have to give him
gonna
credit. We
reference
did
my
this
notes.
a panel in Reach, and Nick came up with the questions, and I took that from him. So I'll give you credit for that. It's a really good question, though, and it fit in perfectly with this topic. So
Of course, I didn't mean to.
no. I wanted to give you credit.
There's a verse, and again, back to the Psalms. This is Psalm 139. But it says, even in darkness I cannot hide from you. To you, this is talking about God, to you the night shines as bright as day. Darkness and light are the same to you. So that idea of, like, even in the darkness, like, God is light, and, like, the darkness and the night are the same for him. And I think about that, like, because when I think of the future, it's like a very dark thing. It's just as far as, like, it's not not a lot's illuminated. I don't really understand what's going to happen. But to kind of like rest in like knowing God is to like know. It's like to know the one that like holds the future and holds the past and like the present, like he holds everything.
Right.
And so to have that relationship with him kind of illuminates those dark places. Even if I still don't like understand, like it's not like I'm getting like prophetic insight into the future. But there's a way in which kind of relating to him in like an intimate way can kind of just give you that like that rest of knowing that like I'm good, like this is good. And I think I'm talking about Levi again. One of the cool things that I've kind of learned just kind of from our relationship and just interacting with him is how he kind of has that same relationship to me as like I'm talking about with God, like because he's right now he's like 2.5, but even like back when he was like 1, you know, as just like beginning to form like consciousness and his personality, like there's very little that he knew, like he didn't know much about this world, like everything's just brand new to him and like blowing his mind. But so anytime he would encounter something new or just be uncertain about something, he would like look to me and just see how my response was to it.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm like cool and calm and collected, and if like a new person comes, or if he like falls and like lightly like bumps himself, he's like looking to me for like how should I respond to the situation based on how does my dad respond to it.
Yeah.
So he's like taking those cues for me, and so it's similar to like that as like we like encounter so much unknown and like we see ahead of us and like I don't know what to make of that, but to kind of look to God and like say okay like he's so good, he's good, he's got this, so like I can be good, and that's how I can react too. So I think that's been helpful too to see
absolutely
like, play out in front of me too.
Yeah, kind of similar to that. Last night at Reach, the youth ministry, during worship, I had our 5-month-old baby or whatever. It was kind of like just praying in the back. And I was kind of laughing because she will just be like so chill, like just literally so in. But she's just sitting there like watching whatever. She was just like watching the band. You would think by looking at her that she was asleep, but she was not. She was like fully watching. And so I always thought she was super chill. But then it turns out as other people have held her, like sometimes she's chill, but sometimes she's just not sure. But as soon as I get her, she is like
completely
good to
comforted,
go. Yes. And so I was kind of laughing about that, watching her. But then like the Lord, since I was praying when this is happening, he was like, it's because she trusts you. Like she knows that if she's with other people, so like she doesn't know what's going to happen. She doesn't know if they're going to be able to provide for her, but if she's with mama, she has no doubts. And like, it was almost like in that moment he was saying, can I be that for you? And just like mind being blown of like, am I resting like that in the Lord? Like not always. I'm like, squirming a little bit a lot of times. So
as we all are, so
kind of that invitation to like if I'm with all these other things, like if I'm following my company or the stock price or the housing crisis or whatever's going on, like I may not be good, but if I'm in the arms of God, then I am good. So learning how to rest in that.
Absolutely, resting in Him. Come rest on us. I love that song. Right, it's a fire song though. That verse was like fire and wind picks up.
Let's just do a cover real quick.
Right, where's the guitar? Get the guitar.
Oh, I got one here.
I'll play drums, of course. Obviously. What else would I do? So I just have one question to kind of wrap everything up. So how do we show the love of Christ to people who are questioning God, or maybe to people who don't know God? And are kind of like, or just new in their spiritual walk with Him? What would be your advice to them who are new at this or who are questioning Him right now in this season? Just kind of leaving them with some last advice.
Yeah. So when Satan tempted Jesus with questioning God in the desert, Jesus responded with the word. And that was how he fought through that. And so I think that, just diving into the word, whether it is kind of the first time that we've really done that for ourselves or just reminding ourselves when we see who God is. I mean, that is the truth that's like in there in the Bible. And really realizing that whatever promises are in the Bible, whoever the Bible says that God is, like that's who he is to me. Like it wasn't just to David, just to Abraham, just to Isaac.
Yeah.
Like that's to Brittany Spicer in 2023 as well. And that's just a beautiful way to like renew our mind, but also to get to know him and to know who it is that we're even trusting and what we can believe for. And it just activates so much faith, like when you're ruminating on the actual truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like whether you're somebody that's struggling with this yourself or you're interacting with somebody that's kind of going through some of these things. I mean, patience is kind of needed and discernment too. So like the discernment thing is a helpful thing for me has been to break down like whether it's doubt or like questioning into these 3 categories. So there's like volitional doubt, emotional doubt, and intellectual doubt.
What's the first one?
Yeah, can you define
for those of us who need some definitions?
Yeah, the volitional, it's like an act of volition. It's an act of the will, and so like you're willfully like, and that's the most aggressive one, and that's kind of the one where, I mean, Jesus dealt with a lot of these people in the New Testament. It's the ones that he would even like write off, like he wouldn't even answer their questions because they're just being so willfully and like trying to trap him. They're not interested in understanding. They're like asking these questions in a disingenuous way. So like when you deal with like that, so it's like having discernment to like, is this someone that I'm dealing with? And then in that case, it's like, you know, Jesus kind of set the example of like, I'm not going to like answer your questions. He would do that sometimes, or he would like ask questions back at them to try to reverse the tables on them. But then there's the other 2 are easier to like kind of help people through and disciple them through. Like the emotional doubt, like is something that I kind of went through and experienced. And it's kind of just that like that anxiety that you feel, toward questions of like God and existence and like things you're going through. So like that's like an emotional reaction that you're having. And then the intellectual is just these kind of questions that pop up of like, you know, whatever the question might be, even like the hot topics of today of like homosexuality and the transgenderism topic of just like, how do I intellectually understand these things in light of my Christianity and my faith? So those are all like ways of categorizing it. In all 3 of them, it requires just kind of maintaining your integrity and maintaining just the character that you have in Christ, and not just like letting pride creep in and how you deal with people that are struggling with that and just like shut it down and say like, you shouldn't ask that question, you shouldn't talk about this, but being willing to have the conversation go on and talk to people. Yeah, and then I mean, just understand how patient God has been with you in your times of questioning, and try your best to demonstrate that and showcase that to other people and be like, yeah, you know, it's normal for you to you know, ask that question or talk about that. So let's talk about it. Let's walk together through it. So yeah, I mean, that's just advice to kind of take into those conversations that you may have with other people, and then also just, you know, for ourselves, because it's not something that really goes away. Like we all have our periods of going through, whether it's the emotional thing or the intellectual thing, or even, you know, God forbid if we're like volitionally like trying to like resist him and question him in a way that's just like trying to shut him down and out. You know, God help us if we're doing that. But he'll reveal that to us if we're maintain humility. Yeah.
And I think I guess having these conversations with other people, like 3 things we even talked about last night was like, it was like love, listen, and stay consistent, I think was like the top 3 things. So just loving people, listening to, like you said, like being open, listening, and then just staying consistent with that relationship too.
Yeah, those are good takeaways last night. Good distillations from Pastor Sam.
Yes. It was good. That like one question was like really good, and it was a deep question too. But it was great. So, well, I mean, that's pretty much all I have. Do y'all have any last thoughts or anything? I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that I can think of. Nick, you got any last words of wisdom for us?
No. Was that panda good?
It was really good, y'all. I had Panda Express right before we ate. Food's on my mind right now, y'all.
Panda as an appetizer.
No, we're about to eat again, so that was
my appetizer. Now it's for the main course. Now I had Panda earlier before we filmed, and it was very good. I still have a crab ragout I'm going to eat right after this, so we're going to hop off real quick. But yeah, Brittany and Nick, thank y'all so much for coming on the podcast. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys.
It's fun.
We love you.
Love you guys. So peace out, fam.